When I was about 10, there was this girl at school whose parent was a teacher at the same school. The girl was 2 years below me, but that did not stop her from thinking she was Queen Bee. Oh shit, my bad. She was a complete bitch and thought that she can get away with anything just because her mom was a teacher. She would throw tantrums if she didn't get her way, and everybody hated her. So it was sports day, and I had just taken part in some small sport like throwing a beanbag through a hoop. Boy, was I pooped. So I went to get a drink. I'm there waiting in line to get me some sweet water when the girl stands in line behind me. She's telling me how bad I'm doing and generally being bitchy. I got to the front of the line, so I poured myself water. I know this girl is pretty close behind me, so I hatch a plan. As I turn around, I pretend to trip, spilling my water all over her. Oh, girl. She turns bright purple, yelling at me to wait till my mom hears about this. Oh, she's one of them girls. Sure enough, her mom comes along to see what the altercation was about. Bratty girl tells her mom that I threw water all over her. I then explained that it wasn't like that. I just tripped. I was so sorry. Bitch, you lying. That girl says I'm lying, but her mom says she saw it happen, that it was clearly an accident. She made her daughter apologize to me for getting angry. I then walked away and the girl gave me the evilest eye. She never was mean to me again. I think deep down she knew what I did that day, but knew she couldn't prove it and thought that she was better off not crossing me or my water again. Okay, so a friend of mine and I had a falling out. I thought she was my best friend and we were getting really close. We had this going for about 4 to 5 months, and we had a lot in common with bullying stories, and we were both women of color, so we bonded over that alone. We also share the same birthday and are the exact same age. Okay, so basically you guys have a lot in common. Same year, same everything. I'm 12 hours older. The fact that you know like the hours, that's funny. So what happened was she disinvited my mom and sisters to her birthday party 2 days before our birthday. She only messaged me about it and not my mom or sisters directly because it involved other people as well, which ended our friendship on awkward terms. I felt betrayed and hurt. But while we were friends, she was seeing this guy, and after a while she got really petty on him and he dumped her. Originally, I saw him first, but he went for her. But it turned out he and I had way more in common than they did, which bummed me out. But New Year's Eve, I did something really petty. It was 9 minutes till midnight and I went outside to tell him, and he told me to kiss him at midnight, and I said yes. He looked so shocked I almost laughed, and he gave me my first real kiss, tongue and all. After, we shared some champagne and he told me that if I wanted him to do that again, to let him know. Unfortunately, there won't be a second kiss.
Story time about how I found out my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend was spying on us in the bedroom. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. My boyfriend and I have been together for 1 year. Our relationship is really good. We're like best friends and we tell each other everything. He always wants to spend time with me and we're planning on moving in together. Our families love each other and they're looking forward to us getting married someday. I'll call my boyfriend Dan. When Dan and I started dating, he told me that he had a really crazy ex. He was extremely controlling and didn't let him hang out with his friends or even his family. And when he broke up with her, she went nuts. She actually told her family that he was abusive just to get back at him. When we got together, Dan told me that he was scared his ex might try to do something to us. I told him not to worry, that she wouldn't do anything at all. Boy, was I wrong. Dan had his own apartment and I would stay at his place most nights. And of course, we did stuff in his bedroom. One night that we're on his bed doing stuff, I see a little tiny lens on his bookshelf pointing straight to us. I hadn't noticed it before, so I asked him what it was. He said he didn't know, so he went to it and pulled it out. It was a tiny little camera. Part 2 is up. When my boyfriend and I are doing the dirty on his bed, I notice there's a little lens pointing straight at us. He goes to grab it and we realize it's a little camera. The whole time we've been doing stuff on his bed, it's been recording us. That's when my boyfriend Dan said that it must have been his crazy ex. Let's call her Casey. He had told me that she was really crazy, but I didn't think she was that crazy. Dan starts looking throughout his whole apartment and he finds 2 more little cameras. One in the kitchen and one in the bathroom. As you can imagine, we didn't sleep that entire night. Of course, we went to the police and they opened an investigation, but they said they couldn't find anything. A week later, I get a DM from Casey, his ex-girlfriend. She starts abusing me through DM, calling me a bunch of names. She even said that I stole Dan from her, but I hadn't even met Dan when they broke up. Then she sends me a picture of my house, which means she knows where I live. I go straight to my boyfriend's apartment, and when I open the door, guess who's there? Casey is sitting on the couch with my boyfriend. It gets scarier. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend's crazy ex is sitting on the couch and I'm terrified. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. She had just finished sending me a bunch of DMs on Instagram, totally abusing me. But my boyfriend didn't know this. I walk into the apartment and they're both sitting on the couch. She turns around and asks him, "Is that her?" My boyfriend looks at me with a serious face and says, "Yes, that's her." Then she shows me DMs on Instagram that I had supposedly sent to some guy, and that she passed herself off as this guy to see if I would fall. And the messages were so dirty and disgusting. I tell my boyfriend that's not me and that I would never do that to him. He just stares at me and doesn't say anything. That's when I try to show him all of the DMs that she had just sent me. But I noticed they were all gone. She actually unsent every single DM. Now I had no proof and it was just her word against mine. That's when I accused her of planting the cameras in our bedroom. She actually smiled at me and turned around and told my boyfriend she would never do that. Then she slapped me. My boyfriend's crazy ex slaps me and lunges at me. Of course, I start attacking her right back. My boyfriend separates us finally and asks both of us to leave his apartment. I was so crushed that he didn't believe me. So far, she had spied on us in bed, hacked my Instagram to send DMs to herself to make it look like I was talking to another guy, and threatened me by telling me that she knew where I lived. Oh yeah, and she physically attacked me too. I left my boyfriend's apartment and a few days later he comes looking for me. I explained everything to him and he said he had no choice but to believe me. His ex was too crazy. Then he told me that she went back to his apartment that night and picked his lock. She got naked and crawled into his bed. He woke up, kicked her out, and went straight to get a restraining order. He scanned his apartment for more cameras and found 2 more. What should we do? Story time about how I stole my best friend's boyfriend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. My best friend and I had known each other for almost 7 years. We met in college and she was always dating around and had several boyfriends. I had no boyfriends because my parents were super strict even though I was in college. There was only one boy that I really liked, but like I said, my parents were super strict so I could never date anyone. What's worse is that I know this boy had a crush on me too. Fast forward 5 years later, my best friend and I are living together. She's on Tinder, Bumble, and all these other dating apps. She had been going on several dates because she really wanted to find a relationship. Well, one day she comes home and she says that she really liked this guy she went on a date with. They ended up dating a month before I even met him. One day she invites him over because she wanted me to meet him. He comes in and as soon as we lock eyes, I'm in shock. It's the boy that I had a crush on in college. Which, like I said, I knew he had a crush on me too. We hugged and chatted for the entire night, and I could tell my best friend really liked him. A few days later, he starts following me on Instagram and we start DMing. He tells me that he had a crush on me in college and I tell him that I did too. Part 2 is up. My best friend's boyfriend had broken up with her because of me. I didn't have the heart to tell her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. A few days later, she started going out on Tinder dates again. I could see that she was feeling better, so I decided to confess to her everything. And she told me she could tell that he and I liked each other. Then she told me I should date him. Well, I didn't waste any time. I sent him a text message and asked him if he wanted to meet up for dinner. And when we did, he asked me to be his girlfriend. We dated for 6 months before he proposed. He even got my name tattooed on his neck. The only problem is that my mom thinks he might do the same thing to me. I don't even want to think about that because I truly believe that he loves me. But let's hope not. I've been planning the wedding and I asked my best friend to come. Of course she said yes. She's super happy for me. And she actually has a boyfriend now. Do you guys think my fiance will end up doing the same thing to me?
My boyfriend's girl best friend was always overly flirty with him and would stake her claim on him through passive-aggressive comments. I brought it up once in a cool-like manner and he just replied that she's like that with everyone. I let it slide because I didn't want to come off as insecure and he never gave me a reason to think anything. However, she threw him a surprise party a week before his actual birthday and didn't tell me or invite me. He was confused as to why I wasn't there and she told him that I didn't like his friends and refused to attend. He called me while he was there to drunkenly express how sad he was about my behavior. I could hear his best friend in the background cackling and yelling at him not to give me any more attention and that I'm a horrible girlfriend. The next day, I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. All the texts went to green and I was sure he blocked me. I talked to his sister, who was coincidentally also not invited to the party because his best friend doesn't like her, and she explained everything to my boyfriend from my point of view. However, his best friend swore that she invited us and it must have been some kind of accident. After that day, he started acting really distant towards me. I asked him if anything happened between him and his best friend and he said no. He said he loved me and understood that it was an accident. 2 weeks later, he was still distant and he sits me down to say it's over after 2 years. I calmly asked him if it was because of his best friend, to which he replied yes. Part 2 of my boyfriend leaving me for his girl best friend. When my boyfriend told me that he was ending things after 2 years, I asked him if it was because of his girl best friend and he said yes. He promised nothing physical happened between them while we were dating, but he had developed feelings for her. He said it just happened. I said that they've been friends for 10 years, so why didn't they date before? He replied that he never thought of her romantically until a few weeks ago. Afterwards, she made it very public that I'm a loser and she won. She also says she was thankful that their friend group won't have to deal with my toxic behavior anymore. I didn't care about this because her actions just showed how low she was. I actually bumped into a few of his friends at the bar a couple weeks after the breakup. They mentioned how they and several other friends were bummed that we broke up because they thought I was sweet and loved having me around. I could tell that they were being genuine. 3 weeks after our breakup, I received a text from a random number. It was my ex. He said he missed me and ended things with his best friend. He asked if we could talk over coffee and hopefully reconcile. He said, I didn't realize how much I'd missed you and now know you're the one for me. I'm so sorry for everything that's happened in this last month. You deserve better and I'm hoping that we can meet up and move past it. I'm fuming he's asking to get back together after screwing his bestie and getting clarity that she's not the one he wants.